Excuse me. Looks like we're moving here. Well, this is another Sunday morning, Elite Ageless Mindset. I'm Jon Andersen, and Nick is actually going to be here in just a few minutes. And that really kind of brings us to what we're going to talk about today, which is basically better late than never. Sometimes what happens to us is we end up, well, first off, we're here every Sunday. Literally, we're on a minute or two late today. Obviously, Nick got a little held up, but the bottom line is we're here every Sunday to be accountable to ourselves, you guys especially, so that when it comes right down to it, you've got accountability partners. But this is a perfect example. Better late than never. So many times people end up thinking, well, shit, I'm a little bit late to get to the gym. I'm a little bit late to do whatever I'm going to do. And they just decide, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Well, the concept of showing up late is so much better than not showing up at all. And you got to think of the idea of creating the habit of showing up. The idea of creating the habit of showing up is so key, even if you're late, because we talked about so many times on the show that, you can sometimes show up and feel not your best. Maybe you show up late. Happened to me plenty of times. I've got in a position where I couldn't be on time, but I ended up having an amazing performance. And that's what it comes down to. So you guys just remember, it doesn't have to be your best day. It doesn't have to be a perfect day. Hell, you can be late. Better late than never. That's kind of the theme of what we're going to talk about today. So that being said, every week we send you a new training. We send you a new diet plan. So you've got basically weekly accountability, nutrition, and training all wrapped into one. Nick and I are both here every Sunday. As I said, he'll be here in a second. So let's just dive into the new format of I shouldn't say new, it's the format of the nutrition. So you'll see in your emails, it's a formula where basically it's a macro-based formula. So it's all based on your body weight. So you're going to take your body weight and you're going to run it through a formula. And there's a really clear example, a sample plan. So you can see how based on a 200-pound person, it calculates out to how many macros you're supposed to be eating. And then from there, once you see the macros divided by the meals, how many meals we're having you eat, you go down to your food list and you pick the different foods that you want to plug in. So it gives you a lot of freedom. And more importantly, it's going to give you great results. And we're here to help you get big and strong and not fat at the same time. Many of you guys actually may lean out in the process, getting stronger and leaning out. So many people think that's not even possible, but it 100% is. So that being said, so I'm actually going to start off with a story about the whole better late than never. So this was when I was competing in strongman, and what I was doing was I always had some different type of oh my goodness, there he is. What's up, my brother?
Just in the wrong side of the house.
Don't worry about it. We're just the theme of the show today is better late than never. So it's perfect that you had a few minutes, that you were a few minutes shy. So what I was doing is I kind of started off by introducing the concept, and then I was just going into a quick story about how when I was competing in strongman, I was doing different types of cross training. Well, I was doing submission grappling as a cross training because it's just great, as you've done that too, right? Mm-hmm. So I was actually doing that, and then I was going to go to do a squat workout. Well, the squat workout after that, is not going to be the best, but it was kind of needed to be that way because I felt like I just needed to give my body a little break. And I was late to get to the squat session, so my partners were waiting for me. Yeah. And I ended up, for the first time, squatting 700 for 11 reps. That was the most I'd ever done. Yeah. And it was one of those things where it was just I walked it out to where there was no cage, no catch racks, and told my partners to get away because I was going to dump it when I felt like I was. And but anyway, normally I would go till failure, but this time I did 11 and walked it in because I wanted to not fail today, but I did 11. So perfect example, I was late, and it was a PR by 2 reps.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's that's weight. Especially with no rack or anything. If you miss, that's good. That could take you down to the ground.
Yeah, well, and that's how, when they had, obviously, when we were doing the stuff, it was squat to fail. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So it was never, so you had to I understand the idea of, okay, I'm gonna end up failing with this weight and it's gonna push me down deeper than I want to go. So I just practice getting out of there, you know.
yeah.
So
Which,
anyway, so
yeah.
better late than never. And then just like we said before, on the days where you don't feel like training, sometimes you have your best sessions. Well, you
Mm.
can apply that to being late too. So why don't you join the party on your thoughts on this concept, brother? I know you side with me 100%. We both feel the same way. But tell a story about something similar where you were late and didn't want to do it, and it turned out to be an amazing session.
Yeah, we were in England filming the TV show, Strongest Man in History, and Brian wanted to go to the gym to train legs that day, and Eddie and Robert didn't want to go with us, so we went to the gym there, and
Was this a night session or a morning session?
yeah, this was a night session. We got started pretty late. I mean, the gym was almost closed when we got started, and the guy waited to close the place until we got done, and we didn't get done until well past 11. So, but I ended up squatting 835 that day.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a
After a
pretty cool
long
day.
day of filming,
Yeah.
late at night, nothing was in your favor, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes bam, there it is.
Yeah, and then so we got there late. We got there an hour and a half later than we wanted to start, so we went and got the work done.
Yeah, that right there is a prime example. And sometimes these amazing little workouts or amazing experiences, because it's not always about working out, are
Mhm.
hidden in some sort of camouflage of it just shouldn't be there, but it is,
Right.
you know?
No, for
I
sure.
mean, how many
There
times have you had a situation where you met somebody really, really interesting or kind of that turned out to be a really important part of your life in a place where you never expected?
Oh, yeah, that's happened more than a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
More
I mean,
than a
you
few times.
you end up doing something that you really didn't want to do, and then you meet somebody really special.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be like like a love relationship. It could just be like some really, really interesting person that influences your life in a positive way.
Oh, yeah. No, I
You know,
mean, yeah, I going to the gym in Katati, back in the day when I was going to the 24-hour health club there, I
which one
met
did you
Kenny
go
Edge.
to? Because we were both up. I was just a few towns south of you. Which one are you talking about, and what year?
So this is like this is something bad, 1990. And there
So it
was
was a few years before I got there. Then, okay.
yeah, and there was a place called the 24-hour health club that had just opened in Cotati, California, just down the road from Sonoma State. And I was in there, I was working as a trainer, stuff like that, which was great. Um, just kind of doing my thing and training, just starting to get into powerlifting pretty good again. And then Kenny Edgio came in and started working there, and we became friends. I ended up working for him, and I learned more about just kind of life in general from him
He
and his
was your
brother David.
powerlifting coach up there, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
powerlifting
remember.
coach, best friend, just kind of mentor, everything. Kenny's like 5 years older than I am, and he really,
I remember when I came into town. I came into town end of 94, and by that
mm,
time, 95, I'd started training up at Fifth Street
right.
in Santa Rosa because that was actually a huge gym. And I remember
Hmm.
that's where I remember the relationship that you had with him. You could clearly see that it was a student coach relationship. You know,
Yeah, yeah, and it was freaking awesome. I mean, he set me straight on so many paths in my life that I'll always be grateful to him,
yeah,
always. And
the perfect
try to
example,
talk to
man.
him. Yeah,
Had you not gone to that little place, you wouldn't have found him. You wouldn't have had that
no,
amazing relationship.
yep,
That's
no. And
exactly what we're
then
talking about.
football in high school, my sophomore year, they could see that I had this drive, but I was like 5'3" and 130 pounds. And Anthony Bach, who I'm still friends with to this day, he's like, "You need to get in the gym and start lifting weights." And after practice, he took me into the weight room. So that was the person that started me all on this thing. So we still talk to this day. I mean, he still
That's
lives
cool,
here.
man.
We're still friends, and it learned a lot from him too. So it's just been,
Yeah,
yeah,
I had
you
some
just never know.
I had some really cool mentors in terms of in high school football too that, that unfortunately they'll have passed away by now, but
Mhm.
they were the ones that, they gave me an influence I'd never seen before, which is
Mm.
probably what you're talking about too. We don't
Yeah,
get that stuff from a lot of times, someone's got to give you a kind of tough love that
yeah,
you've never experienced before so you can understand that that is a really, really helpful tool in your life, you know.
oh, yeah, massively.
I remember
Yeah.
he used to say, his name was Coach Hawley, and he motivated the shit out of
Mm.
everybody. He'd get behind you on a squat, and he'd be screaming so loud your eardrums would blow.
Yeah,
And he
yeah,
would say, if you were kicking ass, he'd tell you, said that says your hound's hunting today, Anderson. And
no, that's
if you weren't working, he'd say, unfortunately, you're yellow today. He goes, I'm going to trade you. He goes, I'm going to trade you for a yellow dog and shoot it. But these are
yeah,
old country. Well, these are old country phrases that way back in the day were totally acceptable.
still are.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, nowadays, if you said that to a kid, you'd have a parent filing a lawsuit.
yeah, but this is,
Yeah,
we need to toughen up as well.
I agree. I agree. But just like you, some of these early, influences
Mhm.
that we were stumbled across just because the right time and the right place have been
Yeah,
I mean, totally, totally, you know, I don't know. I mean, really important pieces of our own personal equations.
yeah,
you
they're
know,
just never expected to meet, either one of them like that, and
yeah,
it had a massive impact. One of them started on my journey, and the other one got my head straight so that I knew how to focus on the journey. So
yeah.
it's,
And so
and
you see, guys, I mean, it's literally like we're talking about, better late than never. If for some reason something got in the way of, you showing up to a place where you met one of these influences because you chose not to go because you were late, look what you'd be missing out on. So remember, better late than never. Just
yeah,
practice that habit of showing up, So, but anyway, everyone, we're here like I said, and we started off, we're here every Sunday.
mhm,
Same time, same place to help. We're accountable to ourselves, number one, accountable to each other,
mhm,
and accountable to you because
yeah,
everybody needs a little, I guess, say a little kick in the pants, a little accountability now and again. And we're here to be a part of that for you. So, what do you
even
say the
if,
words of wisdom are today, brother?
well, that includes me. So yeah, words of wisdom. It affects everybody, like everybody,
Yes.
including me. We're not perfect. So understand that. We're not perfect, but you just
Yeah.
show up and do the best you can. And, you know,
Well,
just
just
show
look
up,
what
keep
you
going.
added to this show by showing up a little bit late. You know what I mean?
Right.
If
Gotta do
you
it in the
had you
tank.
not had you not shown up, we wouldn't have got the pearls of wisdom that you dropped in here. So that's a perfect example.
Well, thank
You
you,
know,
John.
absolutely. So that being said, I would say the what I'll tag on to that is, just practice that habit of showing up. We talk about that a lot because once you show up and you get there, more often than you think, amazing things are going to happen.
Very
So
true.
that being said, everyone, thank you for checking us out. We'll be here next week, same time, same place. Have a killer day.
All right.
There we go, baby. Everything good with you, brother?
Yeah, yeah. I just
Good.